I think we're videoing. Very blustery day. I think that's what they say in the Peter Pan or something. Yeah, Winnie the Pooh, right? Yeah. Anyway, daffodils have survived the cold here. Oh, yeah. Very nice, lovely, lovely, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, really windy. So do I have something I was going to talk about? I just had something in my head and I've lost it now. Well, that's inconvenient. Yeah, it's really a problem. Oh, cigarettes, I'm smoking, yeah. So two sources of cigarettes, which is really strange. Somebody had hidden some in my house, actually. Not very hidden, but, left as a present on like Valentine's Day or something. And, yeah, I didn't notice them until today, last night. So that's why my last video was so mellow. So I had found the cigarettes last night, and it pleased me. So anyway, and then I got some today in the mail. Excellent, from somebody we know, but I won't mention his name. Christian sort of person, kind of. And yeah, so I gave me a bunch of homework to read and a Bible and all that kind of stuff. And so I do have some work to do to earn my cigarettes, which is okay. I don't mind playing with the argument a little bit. It just seems so, obvious that God doesn't provide any answer, to the dilemma of existence, because then you have to explain the God's agenda, even his psychology. Again, the question would be, what was God doing forever? And so, that word infinite is always a problem. But, there's no way to create a God, to create intelligence, to create knowledge, to create this mechanism, consciousness even, without putting it in some sort of life and death category, because the idea of eternal or absolute or complete knowledge is so anti existence. Complete knowledge of your desire, complete knowledge of your will or want. It wouldn't make any sense if you had complete knowledge of them. You could completely anticipate them, completely eliminate them. It just there would be no game to play. In a sense, the idea of a God with a will, a will made out of what? There's no intelligent function. There's, again, nothing. If you have an empty space, you don't have a compulsion to fill it. Unless you have a compulsion to fill it, you have to have the compulsion. And where would that come from? What would be God's plan, realistically, outside of something silly, like he wants an audience, something base or egotistical. And frankly, the gods of the famous religions anyway, the more popular religions, are very egotistical. The Judeo type deal God seems to be quite an egomaniac, and that certainly doesn't, that trivial psychology, God wouldn't be able to withstand 10 minutes of Freudian analysis. Freud would make a laughing stock out of God, with just 10 seconds on the bed, the couch. Yeah, ghosted of the day in person. She did some videos like that. I should have watched them, but at the time I was very uninterested in any conversation about God. But yeah, the analysis idea, the idea of analysis, doing analysis on a creator's purpose is sort of relevant to this anti-natalist subject in a very real way. Because when you start analyzing people's mission statement and having children, it's always not a very good mission statement. It has more to do with, using the child as a vehicle for their own expression than it has some, intellectual, intelligent understanding of function and purpose and accomplishment. And that's sort of a giveaway. I sort of said that in the other video where I came up with the idea that, children aren't a dildo. I mean, it's sort of crass and crude, but, and again, in Hofladay's universe, you're not allowed to make those kind of comparisons or analogies, apparently. But the idea of it being a mechanism for someone's own gratification is it just leads you right to the word, molestation. That in some respects, in some ways, and certainly in many examples that can be given of people procreating, their procreation can be described as nothing more than a molestation, a gratification at the child's risk. They have an agenda for themselves that they intend to satisfy, through this having a child mechanism. Damn, Band-Aids are wearing out. I guess you have to change them every few years. So I should complain about that. I have to say they've been pretty durable Band-Aids. Oh, a Band-Aid over the microphone to help with the wind problem. So again, agenda is this really, there's a really big word in terms of what's going on. What's the agenda being created by? Is it is a rising out of some kind of reasoned, logical, sensible mechanism, or is it a rising? Sorry. It's just funny. Both cameras of the Band-Aids got unsticky at the same time. It's a different camera than the other one. Different Band-Aid in the same 24-hour period. I have failure issues. Anyway, so where's it going? Yeah, so it's a big word, this agenda word. And we can kind of see where we get ours from. This biological imperative lies underneath everything first, and it percolates up through the scheming, culturally influenced conditioning, and then schemes through the intellectual rationalizations and justifications and argumentations. But its core is, we can see the self-generation of it, the mechanistic, biological. We can see the evolution sort of written on it, and what's the correlate to the God agenda? The existence of a God has to come with some sort of personality, some sort of arrangement of its agenda. Does it enjoy shaking hands? Would it like to hug me? Will it rub my bottom? Will God love me? deeply. It's or is God just a store Santa Claus, groping kids? It's so I obviously I'm coming into anytime I'm going to get into a conversation about religion, it's hard to not go into it, just recognizing the fact that I've already done math and come up with a solution to 2 + 2 and it's 4, and there's no room in my mathematics for this theory that it's really 4.786848281, and that's God. God is this decimal point remainder thingy. So just doesn't add up. It just doesn't fit in any component of my understanding of my own function. Better make sure of that. It's very windy. So I think it is one of the stronger arguments against God is not so much the fact that there's no evidence of it, the fact that it's all silly stories from antiquity, that it has voodoo written all over it, witch doctor, astrology, mumbo jumbo. Doesn't have any credibility as it's not sourced from anything credible. And on top of that, you have this slam dunk, last nail in the coffin kind of argument that where would God derive its psychology from? Where would a God derive its will and impulse from? Why would God be hungry? Why? Well, programmed by the universe, programmed by eternity, programmed by something to be eternally hungry, to rub my bottom. No, that doesn't make much sense. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Sorry. You can just look at the lumpy mud and the scurvy little worms. I did nature videos the other day, and I don't know, I fucked everything up. There wasn't much nature, and then what nature there was, I was always missing it with the camera, only half of it. But there was a little worm in a puddle, like a tapeworm, squirming about, swimming. And to me, it was just such a symbol of the game. It's a worm's world. It's a worm's planet, and we're just, we're dust on top of the bus that is life. We're a funny little funky doohickey. We're like the hood ornament or something. The machine is nothing godlike, nothing, the fundamental biology, the nature of it is monstrosity, just so crude and nasty in its function. There's just no way to make it godly, to make it ethereal. It really is windy. Yeah, it really is. You probably are noticing that. Something moved, the snake probably. I have seen nothing except snakes, which is really weird. Because there was years where I wouldn't see a snake all year. And I've seen 4 snakes this year already. And it's, you know, it's been kind of cold, and yeah. One of them was dead, which was weird. You know, upside down, just, you know, you don't know what the hell happened to it. Something caught it and decided it weren't in the mood for snake that day or something, I don't know. I think maybe a horse stepped on it, but I don't know. It's weird. But death follows us all. Right? It's getting closer and closer. I feel him nipping at me. Nipping at my spine. Right at my lower back. Keeps taking swipes at it. Anyway. Okay, that's enough of the video. Didn't know if I had a whole video. I was thinking I might run, but I didn't. Because I have a video. So, there we go, a freebie. And such. So, yeah, the sun's coming out. It's looking a little brighter here, nicer. Me likey. So, till the later.